Welcome to the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz, and I am on the mission to change the narrative of immigration, one immigrant story at a time. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz, and today I have Miss Sarai with us, and she is going to be talking about her upbringing in Puerto Rico and then moving to the mainland here in the U.S., and then also her bookstore. Can't wait to get into that. But Sarai, thank you so much for being here today and being willing to share your journey and, for being willing to share your journey. And if you could just, introduce yourself to the audience, who you are, what you do, and then we can get right into childhood in Puerto Rico.
Of course. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm basically, like you said, a bookstore owner here in Central Florida, and I grew up in Puerto Rico, so I'm very excited to talk about Puerto Rico and everything that I love about it and my journey here. I basically am just your run-of-the-mill millennial with a team. And yeah, I started this store a couple years ago, and I still work, I would say, almost full time, and then do the bookstore on the side. And in my spare time, I do things for the bookstore.
I was going to say, do you have spare time?
Barely. I mean, I do like to see my family every now and then. Get some errands done, some adulting done, but really, the bookstore is my passion. So that's pretty much what I've been working on, and that's how you and I met. So
yes.
exciting.
It's actually, we met, through threads, actually. I came across one of your threads, and I think you had tagged, Central Florida Bookstore or something like that. And so I checked out your thread, and I was like, wait, it's also Puerto Rican owned, because you had mentioned that as well. And I was like, okay, I gotta go check this out. So then that's when I went to go check out your bookstore, and then we met, and I was like, oh, I would love to have you on the podcast. So the power of social media and threads and just networking too.
Yes, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so excited. So tell us about Puerto Rico growing up, and then get into at like what age you guys moved to the homeland, and then what brought you guys here.
Of course. So I was born there in Puerto Rico with my family, and we lived there till I was about 10. And we did come to Florida once previously before we did the big move. Let's say we came for, I think it was like 6 months. And I think my parents were just scoping it out because all of our family is over there, and they're still over there. So many years later. So for us, it was going to be a big change, leaving all behind, coming to a place that we didn't know, in a language that none of us spoke. So I think my parents just kind of wanted to get their feet wet and see like if it was actually a realistic option for us. So remember that we came to, I believe it was like Kissimmee area for like 6 months. And we lived in like an apartment, and I think I was like 6 or 7 at the time. And I guess at that time, my parents were kind of like, maybe it's just too much right now. So back to the island, and then we stayed there for a couple more years. And I think in those couple more years, they were like saving money and doing more research, things like that. But it was very hard to say goodbye to all of our family. I mean, even at 10 years old, I kind of had an idea of this feels very permanent because we were taking everything. It was just kind of like we no longer were in our house. We were moving our cars, or like everything was getting moved over. And so it just felt so final. I remember in the moment. And I am a big sister, and my younger sister is 2 years younger than me. And so I just remember thinking, you have to be brave.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, because my sister is very empathetic by nature. So if I was a mess, she was like, oh my God, something's going to be wrong. She's always that way. And so without meaning to, I kind of am always careful about like how I react to things. At least I was when we were younger. Now she could just deal with, like, she could just deal with life like the rest of us. But back then, I remember thinking like, just be brave and like make it like feel fun and exciting. And, part of it was somewhere new, and my parents were very like, "This is gonna be great. We're gonna do so many things. They have Disney World," like how parents like try to sell.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, it was really hard to move somewhere completely new in the middle of the school year.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about that. I wanted to ask, like, how was that adapting to from Puerto Rico to here, the school?
So bad.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I guess I should say it was bad in the sense of I didn't really get a chance to acclimate, like, during the summer before
Mm, mhm, mhm,
school in the fall. So we literally it was, like, the middle of 3rd grade for me, and I went to a private school. We lived about 30 minutes south of San Juan, and I went to a private school,
mhm.
and it wasn't like a boarding school type of private school, but back in Puerto Rico, there was, like, a bunch of little, like, pods of different schools. Anyways, so they taught us in, like, the French style of learning, which
Oh.
me didn't mean anything until I actually came here, and I remember I knew all of the information, I just didn't know it in English.
Oh,
Yes, and that was tough because, I mean, I'm sure immigrants that are watching will understand, sometimes because there's a language barrier, they think there's an intelligence barrier as well.
yes. Mhm.
And there isn't. It's just we're not able to communicate as much as we, in the way that others can understand us. But I knew all the information. I just couldn't express. I couldn't
Yeah.
And because I went to that school, we learned in a very different way. They put us in the ESOL classes with the
Mhm.
headphones. I'm sure that there's other people that also had that experience. And I remember it was so hard because I didn't have any friends
Mm.
because I didn't know English. And this was back in like the late 90s or early 90s. So there wasn't a lot of immigrants or people coming from the island at that time. Now there's a lot of
Yeah.
Ricans,
Yeah,
yeah,
yes.
a lot of Spanish speakers here. But back then there wasn't a bunch. And I wasn't like a shy person, but I couldn't talk in English.
Yeah.
So for like a couple of months, it was really difficult. Thank God I had my sister though. So even like after school, I had someone to talk to, someone to play with. I had her, which I think helped a lot. And my parents also try to keep us busy too, doing like activities and things like that. We joined a church pretty early on, and so I was able to slowly make friends there.
Yeah.
Um, but I won't lie, it was definitely a transitional period where it's just I love that you have this podcast because it's in the moment you feel so alone, like no one
Mhm.
understands and why is everybody else can make friends so easily, everyone else can talk to the teacher so easily.
Yeah.
You're just kind of sitting there like I can't communicate even if I wanted to. And I remember thinking at one point like I wanted to tell the teacher that I knew all of my multiplication like tables, 'cause she kept having me, like, fill out the paperwork, and I would do it because I already knew the information, and she
Mhm.
would ask me something, and I'd be like, "I don't know, like, what
Mhm.
you're saying." But at least I felt like she would smile at me reassuringly and, like, give me, like, a smiley face on the paper, so I knew I got the answers right.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get the verbal, like, validation from her.
Yeah.
Um, and I just remember thinking, "Okay, if she just gives me these paperworks to do, like, I'll be fine. Like, she won't
Yeah.
I'm like a dumb kid, you know?" But yeah, so the transitional part when we first came here was really hard. I would say it was a couple of months like that. But I also feel like I was really lucky that I had such a close-knit family, and
Mm.
my sister and I have always been very close, so I think that helped a lot. I never truly felt, like, super alone,
Yeah.
and even she could understand what I was going through. She
Yeah.
same ESOL classes, and
Oh.
she got to listen to the same, like, robotic, like, things
Yes.
on, like, she understood all of that. But, I think that's one benefit is that we were so young, and so you're able to eventually learn the language and, then I learned how to read and then forget it. After that, it was
After that, that's it. Yeah. How long did it do you know how long it took you, or do you remember how long it took you?
yes, I mean, I know exactly how long it took me because I remember to this day the first chapter book that I could read in English. It was in 4th grade. So it took me from the middle of 3rd grade to the halfway through 4th, I would say,
Okay.
before I was able to actually read the book and understand what the book was telling me. And that was Island of the Blue Dolphins. I don't know if anybody
Mm.
I think it's Scott by Scott Odell. Anyways, I remember I was so excited that I could read the whole book. I could understand what I was reading. I enjoyed the story. I think I read
Mm.
it 3 times.
I bet. That's such an exciting
It
moment.
was so exciting. And back then, teachers don't really do this as much now anymore, but back then you had to, like, read out loud sometimes.
Oh, yes.
And so I was just sitting there, like, terrified,
Yeah.
want everyone to understand me. Um, and so I remember I read my part very slowly, and I don't know, kudos to my teachers were really awesome. They never made me feel, like, small. So I remember that she was just so encouraging, and she saw how excited I was to read
Mhm.
the book that, I asked if I could take the book home because I wanted to read it again, and
Aw.
she introduced me to the library at the school, and oh my gosh,
That's it.
I could not oh wait, that's like a whole story that I could tell you as well.
Aw.
My first time in, like, a library where I understood what that meant. Anyway, so, yeah, so that was my first book. That was when I first got into reading for, like, fun, and, after that, I would read everything, every textbook, everything, like, on the newspaper, everything. I was obsessed with, like, reading and understanding,
Yeah.
um, and then, yeah, around that time too, I could talk to people in my class and
Mm.
friends, and I remember I would just copy kind of like the way they would say things, and yeah, it was 4th grade was like the turnaround.
Yeah, like, after that, there was no issues, but, oh my gosh, that is very impactful, just like you still remember the first book you were able to finish reading and understand and read it multiple times. By the way, I was looking it up because, like, now I wanna read it, so,
That's a
um,
funny story too, but yeah.
yeah, and so
Learning period because it wasn't just that I could read in English, but it almost was like a validating experience, I guess. I think it was the first time that I felt like I was gonna be okay here. That I was not gonna be, behind all the time, confused all the time, or lost in conversations.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
Mhm.
like, I understand this, I read it, I'll be able to read other things and understand them, and so
Mhm.
it's just kinda like the first time that I felt like, "Oh, it's really gonna be okay."
Yeah.
I can learn how to read, then Leslie, my sister, she's also gonna learn how to read, and we're both
Aw.
gonna be fine. Like, it's gonna be fun, and we can be like, the TV shows where, like, everybody's in school.
Yes.
Experiences. Yeah.
So, tell us about a culture shock besides the language,
Mhm.
cultural shock that was, like, that you remember.
I think everything.
Everything?
There was so many little things. I think, I've experienced culture shock now when I'm older, where I go to
Mhm.
a country that it's like it kinda, like, slaps you in the face. But this experience for us, it was like little bits of
Mm,
things all added up into
yeah.
something major. It was like little things where, like the food that they served in the cafeteria,
Oh, yeah.
where I was like, "What is this?" Because in my school they would serve us like arroz, habichuela, like, vegetales and like juguito and like all this stuff it just felt like food from home.
Mhm. Like food?
Yes, it was just cooked like en masse, but it was like what you would eat at home. And
Mhm.
I remember I would go to the cafeteria here and I'd be like, I don't even know, is that potatoes? But why do they put that on the potato? And I realized it was like cheese, like melted cheese and things like that. I didn't really understand. So, like, as a kid, the first thing you do is just go for, like, what's familiar. So I always went with
Mhm.
the chocolate milk because we had chocolate milk.
Oh.
Like, in Puerto Rico, that was a thing. You had, like, little, like, boxes of milk, so I would have that. Yeah, and at first, like, I didn't know what to eat, so the teacher, like, helped me, like,
Mhm.
"Here's this, here's that, like, you're gonna go through the line." So that was a bit of a culture shock. Another thing that was also, a little bit different was, the way that they do, like, homework and assignments and everything, like, structure-wise, because, like,
Mm.
came from, it was all very, like stand up and recite, like stand,
Okay.
recite, and like for multiplication tables, I would have to get up and I would have to do all the multiplication tables for 10, for example. Or like we had to go to the board, like the chalkboard a lot,
Mhm.
practice a lot of like our cursive and things like that. And here it was all like handouts, like it was
Mhm.
handouts and things like that. Um, so that was also kind of like a bit of a culture shock. Also, like just being in crowds and not understanding what was being said.
Mm.
That's something that, like, even if someone were to call out to me and ask me something, because I remember my teacher would ask me things slowly and I'd be like, I still
Mm.
don't know. So it was just kind of like this feeling of like losing your bearings at
Mm.
first, that was kind of like it. And when you look at it, it's not like a huge barrier. Like you could just tune people out, for example. But when you add all of them up,
Yeah.
all those little moments together, it kind of becomes like a big deal, especially when you're younger.
Yes, for sure.
So I remember that, that getting across to like understanding just little bits of the conversation,
Yeah.
understanding just simple instructions was such a big deal for me, because I always want to do a good job, like,
Mhm.
I guess it's the teacher's pet in me, I guess, like a little overachiever in me. I just, kids want
Yeah.
to be told like you're doing good and,
Mhm.
so like that I feel like probably was a big culture. Also like, um, in where I had in addition to school, I also went to a church, and I also went to a church in Puerto Rico. So even that was different here. Uh,
Mm.
so yeah, so it was just little things here and there that were kind of different. I remember the food and the music. Also, like in Puerto Rico, even when everything you turn on is there's Spanish speakers. The
Yes.
radio,
Mhm.
when you're driving in the car, when you're like watching TV, the commercials, all of that is in Spanish. But here, I remember like I would ask my mom to put it on the like Spanish station just so that I could hear something familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really long winded answer, but I would say it was just little bits all
Yeah.
adding up into like this big like, oh my god, everything's so different.
Yeah.
A little like everything's so dramatic.
No, I mean, that's usually how it is. It's like little things here and there, and it's like, okay, oh, this is different. Oh, okay, this is different too. And just adapting and realizing, like, okay, this is how things are done here, and things like that. So I want to hear about visiting or going back to Puerto Rico after you guys made the big move. Like, how was that? How was like, seeing the family again? How was that experience for you guys?
So much fun.
Oh.
Because here, during the summer, the kids are out of school. And most parents now, like nowadays, you go to like a summer camp or something like that.
Hmm.
My parents were like, we're not paying for that. We're sending you back to your grandparents for the whole.
Okay.
So
Yes.
they sent us back from like June to August for, I think it was like 3 or 4 years consecutively after we moved here.
Wow.
And I remember it was just like coming home. I don't have to think about things as much.
Oh, yes.
It's like I could just get back into like what I'm used to with the people that I'm used to, with the food that I'm used to and everything. My cousins, because my cousins and I were really close. Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, so like my parents just shipped us back for those 2 months. We stayed with my grandparents and they were so fun. They took us to do all kinds of things, go to the beach, spend time with like our other family members, watch like VHS movies. It was just always a good time. But something that's interesting to me is the first year, I didn't want to come back. I was like, leave me here.
Oh, wow.
I don't wanna have to go back." Because that first summer was, like, that transition period where I
Yeah,
still didn't feel comfortable.
yeah.
Uh, it was only till the middle of 4th grade that I was like, "Okay, I feel like I'm gonna be okay here. Like, I'm gonna make friends here," and all that stuff. So that first summer in between, I was like, "There's nothing for me back there. Like, I wish I could just stay here." Well, obviously, that didn't fly. Then then the next summer after that, it was kind of like, "Oh, this is really nice, but I also have friends in Florida.
Mhm.
So I'll be hanging out with my friends here in Puerto Rico, my family, having a really good time. And then when I go back home, I'm gonna have a good time at home there. I'll be able to say good, hello to all my friends." And then the next summer after that, it was like, "Oh, I don't really want to go, but I do miss my family,"
Oh, yes.
in between where you have two lives that are like converging and you're kind of like not one doesn't matter more than the other. They're very
Mhm,
different, but they are two worlds colliding.
mhm.
It's like you're in the middle.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that I remember we did that for 3 or 4 years. I would go to Puerto Rico every summer, and so, um, I credit my parents for that because it kind of forced us to remember where we come from,
Yes.
and make some really great memories with our family members.
Mhm.
And then later, when we got a little bit older, we did family vacations in the summer. And then suddenly we're teenagers. We don't have to go the whole summer. And then eventually that's what ended up happening there, where it's like, we don't have to stay the whole summer. We could like pick and choose. But yeah, now that I'm older, I love going back. Um, it's so different because when you're older, I don't know, it's almost like your whole family, they have responsibilities.
Yeah.
Like the summer when you're young, you could just everybody's out of school,
Yeah.
no one's supposed to be hanging out. Like now it's like you gotta like make sure like when are you off? When come on,
Coordinate, yup.
yeah, come on. It's still
Yeah, it is.
but nothing's gonna like top those like young summers.
Mhm. Carefree
Yes.
summers. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Those no responsibilities is the best.
That I will say I did tell my husband that recently. I was like, I think one of the few things that I miss about being a child besides paying no bills is like the summers where like you would wake up and not know what day it was and not know like what am I gonna do today? I don't know. We'll figure it out later. Like I do miss that
Yes.
as being young, but
Yes.
yeah.
Your favorite people, like it's like people that you love and you know each other really well and we would play all kinds of, like, weird games.
Yeah, make them up as a fly on the fly and stuff. Yeah.
Great, great
Yeah,
time.
for sure. So let's switch gears to your bookstore. So you've had it for a few years, if I remember correctly, you telling me, and I can, from what I heard you talking about that one book, I feel like I don't know. I'm assuming if that's like when you started falling in love with books, or was it before that? Because just how passionate that you remember the name of the first
Mm,
novel that you were able to read in English. So yeah, tell us about that.
yes, that was the beginning of the end. No, I'm just kidding. Was the turning point of my being a bookworm for life, I think. Um, so I learned how to read in English in 4th grade, and I was introduced to the library at that time as well. I
Mm,
think the library is really what did it because we didn't have a ton of money, so it's not like my parents could just be buying, multiple books for each of us all the
yeah.
time. So when the teacher introduced me to the library and she was like, "All of this is free. You just have to make sure that you bring it back." And I remember I asked her 3 times. I was like, "Are you sure? Like, I don't have to pay for this?" It's like, "No, you just have to bring it back." And I remember thinking like, double check because you might not be understanding what
Oh, yes.
you don't want to get in trouble because my mom's going to have questions when I get home and I just have like 4 books with me. She's going to be like,
Yeah.
what's this from?" So I knew I had to explain it to my mom when I got home. So I was like, double check that you have all the facts right, that they're not going to stop you at the door. And she explained like 3 different ways. She's like, "You're going to take it home and you're going to bring it back on this day. You're going to bring it
Mhm.
back." She's going to scan it in and that's it. You're borrowing it for a little while. Anyway, so after she drilled that into me, I started taking books home. At first, it was like 1 book. I was just testing the waters.
Yes.
And after that, it was like 2 books after that. I remember I would take like 5 to 6 books home with me every day. I would instead of going to lunch, I
Wow.
would grab like a snack at the cafeteria and then go to the library almost every single day. And I was just obsessed. I was obsessed with, I don't know, seeing things from other people's perspectives,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
the moving experience was so isolating.
Mm.
I didn't have like movies or books to read about that. I mean, now I could find some, but back then when I was younger, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I think if I had read a book or two, it would have helped me so much. And anyway, so I remember thinking, oh, I'm going to read all kinds of books. I had nonfiction books, fiction books, like I didn't care. I read everything. And then that never stopped. In middle school, it was the same thing. We actually had a library that we could walk to from our middle school.
Mm.
So we would just walk to the library after school and wait for my mom. And so like I was just reading all the time. And then after high school, I stopped reading. I stopped reading for many, many years. I would say I stopped reading for like 5 years.
Wow.
It was like a dry spell. I think it's because it was just a weird time anyways. And for me, reading, I'm a mood reader. So I'm always like reading, all kinds of things depending on what mood I'm in. And
Yeah.
at that time, I was just kind of in the mood of not reading anything. And also, it's just such a hard time, like finishing high school. You just are trying to find yourself and like
Mhm.
you're going to do next and
Yep.
going to college and all these things. So, anyways, I stopped reading for many years. And then I started reading again in 2014. Yeah, it was 2014 because I started a booktube channel around that time. So I started a YouTube channel to talk about books. And I did that for several years, like 4 years. I started a book club like locally as well. And I was the youngest by like 30 years. It was great. But I
Wow.
still have that book club, by the way. We're like almost 10 years strong. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, so then if I always had this dream that I would own a bookstore. I think every bookworm thinks that at least once in their life. Like,
Yeah. I
my
wanna
if I hit the lottery, it's like this romanticizing of owning like a bookstore and a cafe and, coffee shop.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
I think everyone has that, and I was no different. I just happened to be very privileged and the timing was right. So, like, this was after COVID. It
Mhm.
was 2021. Yes, after COVID that I kinda had quarter life crisis, you could say. I don't know. I had like an internal reckoning because life was so not promised. I think everyone has had the experience where at least one person you've lost from COVID or during COVID times. Like of someone that's no longer
Yeah.
here after that. And it didn't really matter where you were or what life you led or what age. Like it didn't really have any rhyme or reason. So I was just thinking to myself, like, well, if we have another pandemic, like, would you feel like you lived as much as you could have, or would you have any regrets? And so I told myself, well, since nothing makes sense anymore, and your tomorrow is never promised. And I did have a personal loss, so I think it affected me more than others. But after that, I thought, well, if you're able to do it, you should just do it. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be the right time. You don't have to have all this money that you think you need to have. Um, and so I just kind of went for it. I told myself, okay, I'm going to try to find a place. I'm going to start really small. And I'm a big believer in like spiritual doors or like doors opening for you or closing and that being like your answer. So I just told myself, if nothing shows up, that's my answer. It's not now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like was like, okay, well then I'll just, manifest in my little journal that I'm gonna like open up a bookstore in a small location. And I searched for almost a year. I looked for almost a year. And I remember I had given up. I was like, "I'm not gonna do it anymore because I'm not gonna force it either." Like,
Mhm, mhm. Yes.
they just forced the door. So I was like, "Whatever." So I remember that I just stopped looking, and then I think it was, like, a week after I officially was like, "Okay, I'll move on with other things," that I was like, "Well, let me just search one more time." I'm just gonna look to see if there's one more, like, space, and that's when I saw, like, the space that we ended up being in it for our first location, and I looked at it, I was like, "This is way too small, like, it's just way too small, but you should just look at it in person just so, like, you can say you tried everything." And then I went and I said, "Actually, it's not that small in person. So maybe this is it." So then I said, "Well, let's just try, and then if it doesn't work out, then fine." So I had, like, a very small investment, and I said, "I'll just see where it goes. I'm not gonna quit my job or anything, it'll be kind of like my little, like, passion project on the side, a way to build community in Sanford because we didn't really have that."
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that was October 2022 that we officially opened, and now
Wow.
yeah, we're in a whole new location now, which is where you went, and
Yeah.
we've grown, I wanna say 3 times the size of, like, that first location. We've grown so much, in this past year. 2025 has been really, really good for us, and so, yeah, I'm just glad that I gave it that one more search, right? Um, but I also feel like I was gonna be okay with a no as well.
Mm.
There was no, like, desperation hinging on this, like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like I didn't Spellbound for me was not, "It's this or nothing," you know? I think if I had come at it from that angle, I don't think it would have been as successful as it ended up being, because I was more at liberty to experiment. I was more at liberty to take chances because I wasn't all my eggs weren't in this one basket, you know?
Yeah.
It was something that I built out of love, not out of necessity. And I think that made a huge difference because I was like, "Okay, well, we'll just try whatever, try something, see what sticks. If that doesn't work, we'll pivot.
Yeah.
We'll just,"
Yeah.
you know? Um, and I think that that's been huge for me, and for, like, our staff as well because they're willing to come up with more ideas and things like that because it's not gonna be a no right away. It's gonna be like, "Why not?" You know?
Mhm.
We'll try it and see. And now, yeah, Spellbound is doing great, and our community has grown so much, and yeah, it's my baby.
Yeah, it's such a cute bookstore too. I went and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love it. I love the vibe."
Mm.
And there was quite a few people actually when I went. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, look at this." So it was really cool. So if anyone is local, definitely check it out in Sanford, Spellbound, and I will include the link to your website in the show notes and show description. And if someone is not local, how can they support your bookstore?
Oh, it's a great question. Well, you can follow us on Instagram at Spellbound Bookstore FL. Um, that's a great way to support us because then you could just like and share our posts. We also are partnered with bookshop.org, and bookshop.org is excellent. Anyone from anywhere can buy books from bookshop.org, and you support independent bookstores through every purchase.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes, they have almost every book that you could think of, and they ship to your door within, like, 4 to 5 days. It's awesome, and they do sales all the time, and, yeah, they give bookstores a cut of every sale, and I can vouch that they actually stand by that.
So
Uh,
I'm gonna use that instead of Amazon.
I mean, yes, feel free.
Yeah.
I always encourage bookshop.org. I'm not, Amazon is more convenient in the sense that they're gonna ship to you quicker and they have Kindle Unlimited and things like that, but if you really have the option, I think bookshop.org is great, and
Yeah.
you can feel like your money is going towards independent bookstores, which obviously is they're such pillars in the community, and they do so much
Yeah.
more than just yeah, I think bookstores are so unique, and I mean, I am a little biased, but I think bookstores are so unique in that we are retail, but we also have a community aspect that not a lot of stores have. Nowadays, when you shop online, the algorithm is what's feeding you things.
Yes.
When you go into a bookstore, there's a person there that is, you know, able to offer recommendations or
Yeah.
just add to your experience, right? And then you can even walk away making a friend. And I think that that is so special. So I really hope that bookstores stick around for a long time. If you don't have a bookstore like that in your area, bookshop.org is great. And they do so much for the community. I really love what they're doing. And when you go to their website, it actually shows you how much they've given to bookstores so far. It's a
Wow.
many
That's amazing.
of them.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. Thank you so much for saying yes to being on the show and being so open and honest about your experience. Absolutely love that. And I can't wait to visit the bookstore again and plug in. I know that I had mentioned about, being part of the book club and stuff, but the podcast has been taking the majority of my time. So but I definitely do wanna get connected and meet more, people in the community who are also bookworms just like you and I and be plugged in, and, to wrap up today's conversation, again, thank you so much for this. The last question that I love to ask is, what does the American dream mean to you?
The American dream. I think the American dream is all about opening doors. I think that's really what it is. I visualize a door um, because I think part of being immigrants is, and part of the reason that a lot of us go in search for more is that at some point a door has been closed for us, or there's been something that has not been easy, or there's been some sort of roadblock, something in our way, right? Whether it's something that we could control or not. A lot of times it's really out of our control. And so we go and search for more. And I think America, for me and my family, it has just been a door that opens so that we can walk through some other possibility. And I think that's probably one of the reasons I love your podcast so much. I've seen some of the other episodes, and it's
Thank you.
all of our stories are so different, but also so similar.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, yes.
all of us have been able to do some really amazing things.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think for it's all about the opportunity, it's all about the chance.
yeah,
So yeah, we've been given, my parents too. They kudos to them for taking the risk of bringing us over here and hoping for something more, while
yeah.
still remembering where we come from and still, loving where we're from.
Mhm.
I think Puerto Rico will always have a special place in my heart. It's a part of me. I take it with me wherever I go. That's really how I see it. Um,
I love that, yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been a lot of fun actually reminiscing and thinking about my youth. And yeah,
Aw.
there's not really a lot of chances to talk about this stuff. So I really like what you're I think it's great.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. Yeah, a lot of my guests do say that it's their first time sharing this part of their story, their immigration part of the story, because there's a lot of stories that live inside of us. There's a lot of different experiences that we go about, but yeah, like the immigration journey, it's the first time that a lot of them share that, and same thing. Like they're like, man, I haven't thought about this in so many years, or I haven't really, thought about this, and it's honestly. I was just thinking like the people, these stories is honestly my favorite part of podcasting. It's just like listening to all these people and listening to their stories and getting in your perspective, right? And like putting myself in your shoes and like how I would feel if I was going through that, and also just like you said, like just the incredible things that people have been able to do in this country. And I mean, look at you opening up a bookstore and having a book club for 10 years now and just giving so much back to the community. Like that is incredible. That's not something small. Like that is really big and incredible. And yeah, absolutely love that. So again, thank you so much, and I will see you soon. I will definitely connect and go visit the bookstore, and I will include all your links in the show notes and show description. And just thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Mommy Podcast.